for you. Why would it matter what his score is if it was done out of anger and not intentional to the result?
I think it matters because of who the player is. I think if this was going to impact Phil Mickelson's playing career in terms of a tournament that he has quested to win his whole life, if he were in contention for this tournament and he lost his cool like that, it would be a terrible blow because he would be viewed very differently because of him being in contention for the U.S. Open, if he was in contention for any tournament. But when he's playing out a string on Saturday afternoon, when he is 16 or 17 over par and is down the list and he makes something like that happen, who cares? It does not impact this thing. That would not impact his legacy. If he was in contention, it would definitely impact his legacy.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have done it. He would never have done it.
Of course he never would have done it.
Right, but the rule, the two-stroke penalty rule is more of a function of, like, let's say that the ball's on the green. It's not meant
Well, wait a second. You can't interpret it that way because the guys who are experts didn't interpret it that way. So how do you get to interpret it? Well, they did. Well, second. No, they didn't. They said 1.2 had nothing to do with this.
Well, I mean...
The rule for the two-stroke penalty was in effect.
But you and I both know that the rule for the two-stroke penalty has everything to do with hitting and unintentionally hitting.
Well, wait a second. Then you're saying that, but that's not what they said. They're the experts.
Well, then why would they have 1.2 in?
Well, wait a second, because there's a million different ways you can deserve a disqualification. A million different ways that you can disqualify yourself from the tournament.
The bottom line, if it's done I don't think you have a different result because he's in the tournament.
Oh, I think you clearly do. Absolutely. With a player of that magnitude, you're telling me if Phil was you're telling me that the fact you're telling me that you would not view it differently if he was in competition, if he was in competition for the championship?
He wouldn't have done it.
Well, of course that just answered your own question. If he ever did it under that thing, you'd send him to Bellevue. You're right. You just answered your own question. He wouldn't have done it. That's why he was out of it. He was out of the competition, and he was frustrated, so he did it. If he'd done that when he was in competition, would it have impacted his career? Dramatically. Would have impacted his career. He's an all-time great. He was finishing up a nothing what was for him a nothing finish, and he was completely frustrated. And I'm waiting for him to tell you now, hey, I did it for the guys who were in contention. I made a point, and I got the thing changed. I got the pin placements changed for Sunday. That's what I'm waiting for him to say next, because I'm sure he feels that way. The point is, he would never have done it. You and I both agree if he was in competition, which shows you he was out of it. He was frustrated. He was frustrated playing in terrible conditions with terrible pin placement. Said, I've had enough of this. Boom. He said, welcome to the U.S. Open circus or the USGA circus, whatever he said at that moment, but he brought up circus, which was what his point was too. He was frustrated with them, which he's been for years, and frustrated with himself. So he did it. But don't tell me that the rule doesn't apply when they applied the rule. They're experts. Their job is to interpret the rules. What do you mean that the rule doesn't apply? Peter in Albertson, what's up, Peter?
How you doing, Mike? So Rule 33.7 says a serious breach of etiquette.
Yeah.
Means, how does that not apply here? How does that not apply here? I don't think it was a serious breach of etiquette. A quote from them, it says, in extreme circumstances. Everyone's been saying they've never seen this in their life. How is this?
Well, we have seen it before. They showed video of it within 3 minutes, so it has happened before. They showed video. John Daly
you guys have never seen.
I never saw anybody do it.
Never seen this in their life.
I agreed.
Never.
Well, agreed. But I don't interpret.
Wouldn't that mean extreme?
No, I think that there's a rule that covered it. If they didn't have a rule that said, here's what happens if you hit a moving ball. If they didn't have a rule that said that, they could have applied any rule they wanted, and then maybe they would have applied your rule. But they had a rule that applied directly to a moving ball. So they applied it. The rule right there. Now, he says he knew that rule was going to be applied. I don't know if he knew that or not. I don't believe that he did that as a strategy for a second. He might have known the rule, but I don't think he did it as a strategy. I think he had a lot of time to think about it, and that was his answer. But there is a rule on the books for that there's a moving ball. If there wasn't, then maybe they would have disqualified him. And if they had disqualified him by what they felt was a rule, I would have been okay with that. But that's not what they did, nor do they feel that was what was merited. 4 o'clock, here's the Mink Man.